Okay, at this time, I'd like our panelists to come on up. And we are going to sit you guys in order of your session. So, seat number 1 over here is going to be Yvette. Come on up, session 1. Session 2, we have George and Logan. So come on up for the next 2. Session 3, we have Veronica. Thank you. Veronica, come on up. Session 4, we have Grace Fogel, representing session 4. Representing session 5 is Megan. And representing session 6 is Haley. Okay. Your bingo cards, for lack of a better word, your bingo cards are now going to be your note-taking cards. So go ahead and flip that over, and you'll be able to take that home with you later if you would like. If you met some neat people in that during the bingo game, feel free to ask them later for any type of social media connections or email addresses or anything like that if you want to stay in touch. So. All right, we are now going to begin our panel, and the panel was something we did at the reunion last year, which many of you know was our first reunion ever, and we do have some of the panelists who were here last year have joined us today and gave these guys a few words of advice, but I think that they would do pretty well on their own. They're kind of keeping me calm today, so enjoy their stories about their journey that they left from the time they left the program, what their initial idea is, how they found success, and take some notes. Ask them questions that you want to, when we do a Q&A, that you want to pose to the group, or if you want to catch them individually. They've got some really great ideas, resources that they used, ways that they were able to reach out for help. So we're hoping that you can glean some inspiration and some pointers from them. So we are going to start with Yvette. Why don't you start by taking us through the beginning stages of your leadership action plan? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so I'm Yvette Avalos. I'm from Moore Park High School. I'm from Session 1. And then, so my project was called Education Appreciation Week. And it was pretty much a week to increase students' awareness of how important education is and to increase their caring about taking it further and just making the most of it, because not everybody has the privilege. And so pretty much the way that I wanted to attempt to solve this problem was by starting in an elementary school and teaching them about places where education wasn't free and wasn't a privilege, like in many places in Middle East. And so my key hero was Malala. And so pretty much throughout the week, they would learn about various places throughout the world where education wasn't free, or it was limited, or they just didn't have the privilege that we all have, so that they would take it less for granted and make the most of it. And so when I started, I wanted to do my project at Soma School, which is where I graduated, and it's a K through 8, and I had a very good relationship with the teachers. So it was really easy for me to develop how they would want to attempt how to do the projects inside of the classroom. And so I contacted the principal, and one of the big problems was actually just getting communication with her, because that's where I almost didn't continue with my project, because I kept contacting her, and it actually turned out that I was contacting the wrong email. So thankfully I figured that out, or else I would never have completed it. And so once she finally got in contact with me, we just started meeting up, and she helped me a lot to develop my project and make it a lot more realistic, and to see how to connect with the students. And I brought in a guest speaker, which was an old counselor from Moore Park High School that I have a very good relationship with, and he talked about his experience, how education helped him grow from living in a ranch to visiting the White House and meeting the president. And so pretty much throughout my process, I just worked very closely with the middle school. And then I wanted to make it a lot like Red Ribbon Week, so I wanted to get bands and pencils. And so I contacted my local Rotary, which I was friends with from my Interact Club, and they allowed me to have $400 to sponsor all of the materials that I wanted.
So did I hear you say there was a point there where you almost gave up, Yvette?
Yeah, over the summer, there was just a lot going on, and it was the summer, so it was hard to contact anybody and get help to do it. And so I just sent, as the last day of the program, I sent as many emails as I could, because I figured if they had responded, I wouldn't leave my project hanging. And so, I mean, once I wanted to give up, I just talked to, I just went in person and I talked to them. And once she was so excited about the project, that just gave me new energy to continue it and to make it a reality, despite how much work it was going to be.
Well done, Yvette. Thank you. We'll move on to George.
Hello, everybody. My name is George McGuigan. I'm a senior at Thousand Oaks High School, and I was in session 2. Now, during the whole week of the Reagan conference, I was completely dedicated to trying to help therapeutic kids, so kids with special needs. And when I came out of the, because that was the organization that I was volunteering with at the time, I was doing a summer camp. And when I came out of it, I did a lot of research into the Thousand Oaks Therapeutic Unit, which was responsible for, putting on all the activities in our area for this community. And I found that it was a completely addressed issue. Everything was being taken care of, and I kind of looked at that and I said that, well, there isn't really much I can contribute besides my volunteering hours. So let's look at another issue that's completely or at least under addressed. So that's when I found teen drug and alcohol abuse was the problem that I wanted to tackle. So I serve as chair of the Thousand Oaks Youth Commission, which was a tremendous platform that I was able to use to help me with my project. So I was able to contact the CVUSD Breakthrough Program, which is a student assistance program that helped me a lot through my project, and then also the police department as well as the CVUSD school district. And my project was an event that would serve as a substance abuse conference for teens where students could come in and kind of take part in a series of breakthrough sessions for free and get some help in these areas. So when I first came out of the week-long Reagan Leadership Program, I set about trying to acquire funds, and I actually applied for a Summer of Creativity grant through Disney, and I was awarded $500 to that program. So I encourage you guys all to look at grants available, because there's a lot of money out there, and they're completely willing as long as you show them, what you want to do with the money, your purpose, and and I kind of explained that to them, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get a grant. So having acquired the funds and having talked to various agencies to get endorsements, I set about acquiring a location for the event, and the City of Thousand Oaks graciously donated me the Cameron Center for a night, which is by Los Robles Golf Course. And I was looking at dates for the event, and it's kind of based on their schedule since they had given me the location. And I actually got a Friday night that was a CIF playoff game for Thousand Oaks, and I think Newbury Park was playing that night as well. So it wasn't the most ideal thing, but we had to make it work. So we kind of changed the time to earlier in the day, so we're hoping that people could attend our event and then maybe catch the last half of the football game or something like that. So the event took place on November 13th from 5:30 to 9 o'clock. And the structure of the day was 5:30 to 6 o'clock. We had a registration where we checked everyone in. And we actually had 50 participants, which was incredible. And all the registration was done online, and we had some people come in at the door, but it wasn't a huge amount, so we were able to compensate for that. And then we had 3 sessions of breakthrough programs, 1 hour long, and the sessions were loss of a loved one, alcohol and other drug trends, social change workshop, and a straight talk from those in recovery. And the people who attended the event got to pick their own schedule, so they got to pick 3 of those 4 things. So they really got to address their own needs. And everything was confidential. There was no publicity, there's no media coverage about it because we wanted to keep everyone's privacy, a top priority. And with the grant money, we were able to purchase what we called swag bags. And there were basically little rewards for everyone who came that included a spiral that had "Say No to Drugs" on it, and then a couple other goodies that we included, and as well as pizza, because we all know that food attracts crowds. And then
That's why you guys are all here. We know it.
Yeah. And then we had a certificate of completion signed by the mayor at the end. So it was a really, really great event, and I was really happy with the results. So much so that when we did a follow-up survey of the 45 participants, we had 44 out of 45 said that they would come again and or recommend to a friend. So I was really, really happy with the feedback. And also we had a lot of people come up to us after the conference and said, we need more of these. We need this to happen more often. It was a great dialogue. I learned so much from it, but I have so many friends that would benefit from a second event. So I'm actually in the process of trying to plan a second one of these events that will hopefully take place in May, and I'll definitely send the details. to everyone who attends today, because it's not just for people who struggle with drug and alcohol abuse. You can take the lessons that you learn, apply them to your friends, your family, and everyone else that you might meet. So thank you very much for listening, and if you have any questions, we'll address those later. Thank you.
Thank you, George. So again, just to remind you guys, if you're interested in anything that deals with education, getting into schools, talking to principals, those are notes you can be taking and questions to be asking for Yvette. Same thing for George. If it sounds like a wonderful opportunity, you'd love to get something like that going at your school, or at least be able to help him grow his and have that be wider than the Conejo Valley or Thousand Oaks where he was, talk to him as well. And we're going to keep going. Logan, go ahead.
Okay. Hello, my name is Logan Beck. I was in session 2 of 2015. My action plan was to bring toys to, well, okay, let me restart. Originally, it changed a couple times. Originally, it was to have a room specific for kids waiting for their parents to have cancer treatment so that they could, sort of like a daycare center. Well, it turns out that at hospitals, it's very, very hard to find an empty room that they're not going to use because they never know what's going to go on or anything. So that didn't work out. So then I tried to look for rooms like around the hospital or maybe like an empty building. And then there was 2 problems with that. One, there weren't any. And second, if there were, I was broke. So I couldn't do that. So another problem I had was I'm really busy with lacrosse, and so I travel all the time, so I couldn't really, it was really hard planning things while I was away. So what I ended up doing was I went around my neighborhood, and I obviously went to the neighbors I know, because don't go to people you don't know, that's sort of weird. Some are freaky, and yeah. And I just asked them if they have any toys that they didn't use, or maybe like open but they never really touched or anything that they could donate. And I asked about like 10 houses just to like start off, and I got a really good donation amount from the houses. They gave all sorts of toys that you can think of, books, RC cars. I don't think they appreciated those in the hospital, but just everything you can think of. And I delivered those to the hospital. And what really got me into the action plan was my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and while she was getting treatment, I never really had anything to do, so I wanted to give kids an opportunity to do something while they're waiting for their parents to have treatment. So just if your plan isn't working out or you're not really motivated, just find something that like you're connected with and that you know you like or interested in, and try to like follow that path and see if that works. So, thank you.
Thank you, Logan. And Veronica.
Hello, everybody. My name is Veronica Landeros, and I attend school in Santa Paula High School, which is in Ventura County, and I was part of session 3. My leadership action plan began because I was motivated personally. Initially, I wanted to make workshops for migrant students. Basically, they come from other countries, and usually these students don't know English, or English is their second language. And I personally was about 4 years ago. I came from Mexico. And so I was part of this program that's already in my school, which is called the Migrant Program. And this is like a program for these students that motivates them to just get more involved. But there's so many students, and they can't get like to all of them. And it's kind of hard because they don't really know what's going on since they're new and everything. So what I wanted to do was workshops after school, just to show them like the basics. These students don't even know like their A through G, or where to sign up for a club if they want to be in a club, or they don't really motivated to like be in a sport. So that's what I wanted to do, workshops, but that didn't work out because I had to kind of started to accommodate to their needs more. So I realized that what they really needed was tutoring, because they didn't even know how to translate their own homework into the language they understood, and at the same time while they were learning English. So after school, we they already have their tutoring and stuff. So I just began by connecting with them, by helping them with their homework and stuff, and that's how it all began. And then I'm still doing that right now. But then there's the migrant program has this debate team, so I try to help all the students, but the debate team takes up to 15 students. And all these students are learning English, and they start to debate in English. We help them, and they make their speeches and all this stuff. And this is basically how I was connecting even more with them. But then I had to plan other events. So I was how can I just go back to what I initially planned, which was workshops, and trying for them to learn their basics, which is their A through G and stuff. So I got a speaker, which he was a motivational speaker, Richard Salinas, and he was a migrant student when he was in high school, and now he is a producer and actor in theater and film. So he talked to them personally, and he gave him a story, and they were really moved about it. And currently, my project is not complete. So right now, the next step is to today was their debate competition, so I'm really proud of them because we were working last night all night, and it was crazy. But right now, what the next step would be inviting them to this spring leadership conference that's going to be in our school, which is being organized by some of my fellow peers that actually went here to attended the Ronald Reagan Leadership Program, which is Araceli, which is right there, and Stephanie and Christopher. They're not here today, but they had a track meet or something. But yeah, shout out to them. And I'm going to be inviting these students to that conference so they can get some leadership skills and get more motivated. And after that, I plan to have Mr. Chaparro. He is he's going to be giving them talking to them about their A through G, which is that's how I'm going to be taking it to the initial plan that I had. And so he's going to be going to the school, and he's going to have talk to them personally and prepare them for just to get them motivated and see their interests and how they can connect to a major or a career for them. And after that, I will be taking them to a field trip to a college of their choice. So yeah, and some of the things that I struggled with was right now, for example, I'm struggling with funding for the bus and all that, and take them to the actual college. So I'm seeing that right now. And some of the support I got was from these students' counselors and the principal of the school. She gave me a lot of support too.
Veronica, for students who haven't started the college application process, can you just explain what A through G is, so they know?
Well, basically, the A through G is you have to take four English classes, three math classes. It's a number of classes that you have to take while you're in high school to be ready to go to a university or a college. And these students don't know anything about that. They just know that they're taking English classes to get there to their level, or basic math and stuff like that. So that's what we're helping them with.
So making sure that the courses, if they're going to take at a junior college, are going to be applicable and transferable if they're transferring to a UC later on. All right. Thank you so much, Veronica.
Thank you.
And now from session 4, we have Grace, who was actually very brave and stepped up to be on this panel this morning. So.
All right, so hi, I'm Grace Fogel. I'm from session 4, and I'm a sophomore at Yucaipa High School. So before I attended the Ronald Reagan Leadership Program over summer, I identified a problem in my community, and more specifically, my school. It's particular to my school. I'm in a lot of classes with upperclassmen, and they've shared with me a lot, some advice. They've given me advice, and they've shared about a lot of their experiences with the college admissions process. So I realized that some of them, they're looking to play, or like, for example, to play a sport in college, yet they don't know about the requirements that are necessary in order to complete that goal and to fulfill that. So I came back to my school, and my plan was to start a college club at my school where students could come, and it would serve as a central forum to acquire and distribute college information for all students who are welcome and all students who are college bound. So I came back to my school at the beginning of the year, and I talked to my principal and several of my counselors, and they immediately loved the idea. So coming up within a few weeks was something at my school called Club Rush, which is where clubs come and they can advertise their club and promote their club to recruit new members. So we participated in that, and it was very successful. So far we've had several meetings. We've discussed scholarships and financial aid. We've explored college majors, and most recently we contacted the executive director from Princeton Review, and they came, they video conferenced with us about the new SAT and differences between SAT, ACT, and those standardized tests. So far it's been pretty successful. Being that this was the first year implementing the club, next year we're looking to expand upon it and elaborate to maybe include different aspects such as volunteering, community service, and different things to expand the club and promote it so that it's more helpful and better suited to all students. So thank you.
Thank you, Grace. And Grace has graciously shared a lot of that information that she has put together, so that if you are looking for information and want to have it for yourself personally or share it with your peers, or even if you have a club at your school or you don't have a club at your school like she didn't, I'm sure she would gladly share it with you as well.
Yes.
And Megan from Session 5.
I would like to begin by expressing, on behalf of all the students here today, I would like to begin by expressing our sincere condolences on the passing of former First Lady Mrs. Nancy Reagan. And hi, my name is Megan, and I attended Session 5 of last summer's Student Leadership Program. I'm a sophomore at Newbury Park High School, and as part of my leadership action plan, I started a club at middle school, STEM for Girls. I've participated in math and science competitions ever since I was little, and I always noticed the severe gender disparity between boys and girls in STEM. So I always felt the need to address this issue, but I had no idea how to approach it. So when I came in to the leadership program, I was completely clueless, but over the next 5 days I spent here, the educators helped me tremendously to concretize my ideas, and I left with a solid plan for my project. So on that note, I would like to thank the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Library for this amazing and unique opportunity, and I'd like to thank the educators for their inspiration and guidance every step of the way. So onto my project. It's called STEM for Girls, and this program aims to motivate middle school girls to pursue STEM through field trips and in-class presentations by local STEM companies. So far, companies such as BMW, DesignWorks Studio, Skyworks, Los Robles Hospital, Jafra Cosmetics, and Baxalta have all supported us. This program started in October, so it's 6 months, or around 6 months into this project. And we've had in-class presentations and video conferences and field trips to around seven different companies within our local community. So the first step that I took after Session 5 ended was going around my local community and visiting STEM companies. It was really nerve-wracking since I didn't have anything written out, and I would just walk into the company and then stand in the receptionist lobby, and then I would explain my project, and I would ask for the company's support. So as expected, most of the companies said no, and pretty soon I found out that a lot of companies supply products to the government, and a lot of companies have liability issues for minors under 18 to visit. So this was a reason for a lot of companies denying to support us. And at that point, we expanded from just having field trips to companies to video conferencing and having women in STEM visit us at the middle school. So eventually I sent out around 200 to 300 emails, and I called around 20 different companies. And at that point, I had enough support from companies to approach our local middle school with my intent to start this program. I chose to approach Sequoia Middle School since I went there for 2 years of my middle school education. And the principal of Sequoia was receptive of my idea, and the program was set to begin in a couple of weeks. So one of the other reasons that I started this program was, other than my personal involvement, it was that I felt that students were always confined to learning within the classroom for science and math, and that was one of the reasons that many students hated science and math. So I felt that perhaps taking field trips and interactively learning about technology, machinery, would expose girls to fields that they had not been previously exposed to. And the most important thing that I've learned from implementing this program is that you really can't give up. I sent around 200 emails, and I only received support from 3 companies at first, which was a pretty big downer, but I persevered, and I was extremely persistent, and so far it's been successful. We'll see about it in the future, but the best solution that I found is to just keep on contacting. Once companies realize that you're not going to give up and that you're serious about it, they eventually give in. Once they realize that you're extremely pushy and you're extremely determined, they kind of get irritated with you, and then they just decide, okay, we'll do it. So I guess that would be what I've learned from implementing this program and how it's helped me.
Thank you, Megan. I'm sure their idea of pushy and Megan's idea of pushy are pretty different. I mean, look at that smile. Okay, and last but not least, we have Haley from Session 6.
Hi, I'm Haley Taggart. I'm from Session 6, and I am a senior at Newbury Park High School. So I'll start with a little bit of a backstory. When I was 7 years old, my younger brother passed away from childhood cancer, and that was about 10 years ago. And from that point, my family was involved in an organization called Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, which was started by another little girl who had cancer, and it's a nonprofit that raises money for childhood cancer research, which is one of the most severely underfunded cancers out of the whole spectrum. So I had been involved in that organization for 10 years. This past October, it's been 10 years. And going into the conference, I knew I kind of had done that. I've done lemonade stands a lot, but I wanted to try to find something more that I could add on to that organization since it's so dear to my heart. And I found out that Alex's Lemonade Stand does another event, and it's called Alex's Million Miles, which is during the month of September, which is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And it's where people all over the nation walk, run, and bike 1,000,000 miles to raise funds and awareness for childhood cancer research. So when I found out about that event, I immediately thought, this is it. I can go out on my own, and I can take this to our community, because it had never really been done in our community before. So during the week, I really nailed down my plan, and it was hard since I was in the last session that I had maybe 2 to 3 weeks to plan before September started, so that was really hard. But I tried to contact my schools. I worked with my cross-country team, because I had a friend on there. I talked with the local elementary school, and the principal sent out an email blast to all of their parents. I talked with the Rotary Club. I am also involved with this organization called FHA Hero. So I worked with them very closely, and they were pretty much my main support. And the teacher was really, really glad to work with me, because I had been working with her in the past, and she actually made it part of a class grade to log miles. So I had a lot of students through the class that would log miles, and it was part of they would turn it in as a homework grade. And I also had, I had 2 teams. That was the team for the school, and then I had a team for the community, and that was where my mom stepped into, because she does marathons and she runs like crazy. So I had her and all of her friends, and I joined my team, and I had different people like that from the community on a separate team. And throughout the whole month, I was just We made posters to go around the school. I talked with as many people as I could. I had people get the apps that had them track their walking, because even just walking around would count. And I sent out a lot of emails to all my family and friends. And at the end of the month, we had a lemonade stand at the school. But something that kind of didn't go exactly as planned is the schools now have a different ed code that you can't serve food a half hour after school, and it was a lemonade stand, so it'd be lemonade and cookies. So we had to wait a half hour after school, so we didn't get as much money as I'd hoped from the lemonade stand to wrap things up. But the positives are, at the end of the month, I have the final totals. With both teams, we logged 2,770 miles, and we raised $1,240 within the community and with my high school. So I think, yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you, Haley. All right, before we turn it over to Q&A, and we're going to have Nina and Tracy that are going to be, they have mics as well. Just give these guys one more hand. I mean, it's pretty nerve-wracking to be on a panel, especially when you're in the Air Force One pavilion. That can get pretty nervous. You guys did an awesome job. But we also know that there are so many of you sitting in the audience that easily could have been up here on the panel as well. You've shared your stories with us. We know you're successful, right, Juan? Wearing my Pulsetta bracelet here for their fundraiser for their school. So we want to capture your stories as well. Later, our activities are going to allow you to do some showcasing and some sharing of where you're at, even what you gained from the program, wherever you're at in your plan. We want to hear more about it, and we want you guys to share that with each other. But we also have, if you've seen the cameras in the back, we are going to be taking some individual stories as well. So you don't have to be up in front of a panel in front of everybody. We might be pulling you aside, or definitely let us know if you are interested in sharing a little bit more about that. Okay, so we hope you guys have some questions for these panelists and their wonderful, the wonderful work that they've done in their schools and their communities. So just raise your hand, and Tracy or Nina will grab you guys.
This question is, this question's for Megan. So I was curious, how did you move past the liability obstacles that you had? I know you said you were persistent, but how did you work with the company so that you could still have the middle school girls work with in the program?
Right, so Skyworks was one of the main companies that didn't let minors under 18 into their building. So what we did was we asked some of their women in STEM employees to visit the middle school, Sequoia Middle School, and a couple of them came in. They brought a lot of their the small technology, like the computer chips, and they took videos of their technology in action. So we were able to see that through the video, and since the women in STEM came in, they gave a presentation. So the girls were still able to learn a lot without actually going to the company and seeing it.
So this question is for Veronica, and I noticed that you mentioned a migrant debate program. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Okay. Yes, these students are in the migrant program, and they participate in a debate called Migrant Speech and Debate. So students, there's a migrant program for students in high school and elementary school. These students are learning English, and they participate, they're recruited, and they're told, would you like to participate in the debate or a speech? And what they do is that, for example, the debate teams, they're composed of 5 students, and there's one in English and one in Spanish. And then they have about 6 months to prepare, and they're giving a topic, and they have to be ready to debate in pro and con towards the theme. So the topic that they were given this year was, should students that go to public schools be should vaccination be an obligation or not? Should we make it mandatory? So that's their topic, and then today, for example, in the competition, they get there, and they will be debating with students in other migrant programs that go to schools in our county. So that's how that works.
So this question is for George. Do you guys have a website that we could available that we can look at?
We don't have a website at the moment. What we do is when the event comes around, we put our application on the City of Thousand Oaks website, and people are allowed to register online because I think that's a very, well, we kind of utilize the technology. It's a very great way to gather information on applicants is through the internet. It basically means you don't have to collect applications and stuff. So if you do it all online, it makes it really, really simple. But yeah, and so the website, or the website we used was www.toaks.org/youth, and then that's where we put our application up there. Thank you.
All right, this is for any one of you guys, really. What was it like trying to balance your normal school life and your activities with your leadership action plan? Did the two start to blend together, or did you really have to take time for one or the other? Anyone?
So for me, it was actually really, really hard because I didn't get started until the beginning of the year. And so pretty much what I would do, I would set deadlines and I would get all my homework done. And then no matter what the time, I was like, I have to send these emails today because it was just important. And then it helped me a lot to make meetings because then I would have deadlines because I work better with deadlines. And so if I was meeting with the principal in 2 days and I told her that I made these, sent these emails and I had this presentation done and that I would meet with the public speaker. So for me, it definitely was difficult to balance it out, but I mean, also talking, because I had first period at Thrishmega, and I would go in there and be like, oh my gosh, I have a meeting today and I'm not ready, and she would calm me down. And so for me, a lot of getting it balanced out was talking about it, and it just helped me set a deadline and just having it planned out so that I could balance them both.
Go ahead, anyone else who wants to respond?
Okay, so for me, I'm also vice president of a community service club at my school called Key Club. So for me, I mean, it's not really a huge conflict, but sometimes I would have to schedule college club meetings on different days than Key Club meetings so that I would be able to attend them both because they're both really important to me.
I would just say, with your leadership action plan, utilize your assets. I'm sure you're all a part of a wide variety of clubs on campus and off-campus sports. Use those circles to benefit your leadership action plan because everyone has something to contribute. For example, I was involved in the Teen Center Advisory Committee, and they were actually able to produce this handy-dandy little flyer that I actually used on school campuses to actually recruit people. And just little things like that, and it really, when you have a sense of community, when you do a program or an event, it makes the actual event so much better and so much more rewarding when there's a whole team involved. So I'd just say utilize your assets, combine your circles, and then that way it's not all on you. You have people you can go to and kind of manage as opposed to doing it all yourself. So.
With my leadership action plan, I talked a lot to my lacrosse team to see if they had any extra toys that they could give, and so that helped a lot. They donated some. So, yeah, like George said, just utilize who's around you.
In my case, I had to, senior year has been a little bit busy, so, but these students are very caring to my heart. So they require a lot of time after school, so when I knew that I didn't have, that I had a lot of things to do, maybe homework or other things to, an application or apply to a scholarship, I would have to leave a little bit early. So that's how I would accommodate, and when I had the time, I would just stay after school with the kids. Yeah.
I know for mine, it was really helpful to have a set time, so I had to do it in the month of September, so I couldn't wait, and I would set aside maybe an hour or two a week beforehand, and then during the event, an hour or two every other day, to just dedicated to writing emails or talking with people or just really working on my event. And so I didn't really put on the back burner. I made sure that it was always my first thought. And I still balanced my school, but since it was more the beginning of the school year, it wasn't like deadlines weren't happening, so it was a really great time for me to get it done while school was still just kind of starting.
So I'll just add in that at first, I'll just put the fact in that like I'm a serious procrastinator. If something's due like Monday, I'll be doing it Sunday night. So what I would do like in the first few weeks of this program starting, I literally planned my schedule down to the hour. So I'd put in like when I was gonna do which homework and when I was gonna work on my leadership action plan. And then in the end, it starts becoming more of a routine, like spend an hour writing emails, calling people, and then you just get used to it. And then I found that like you will always find a way to make it work. So I guess, yeah.
I have a question for all of you guys. Some of you guys may have completed or may not have completed, or it's a process, but what now? Like, what is your guys' plan as of today?
I can start. So since my family is really involved with Alex's lemonade stand still, we're now starting our plans for it's called an annual grandstand. So it happens every June. We've raised over $100,000 so far, and this is going to be our final stand for now as a family, because I'm moving off to college, and we've done it this is going to be our 11th year, but I'm definitely bringing it to college, and I think it's a really great event for me, because I can set up a lemonade stand anywhere during the month of September. Anyone can walk around and do groceries and log their miles. So it's really applicable for my life, because I can take it with me everywhere.
Personally, I feel that my project just keeps kind of growing and like I keep adding stuff to it. So maybe I'll have like another speaker come and speak to the children, and the high school kids. Sorry. And I would definitely want to do this next year if we're invited again and students from my high school get to come and next year and participate. I would totally try to connect with them and give them the idea and see if they would want to take it.
As of right now, we're considering the finances behind planning actually a field trip to several universities around in our community. So, and also I started a club website on my page for my high school. And I'm planning on elaborating that a little bit more and including more useful information like links and information to help students better be prepared for college and the application process.
My friend is the vice president of Key Club, actually. And so it's nearing the end of the year, so they're sort of busy and like wrapping everything up. But next year, we're definitely planning on incorporating my action plan into the Key Club and having them bring toys so we could donate to hospitals. And then I'm also hoping to find a way to grow it more.
Yeah, I kind of spoke earlier about my intentions of trying to plan a second conference in May. But even looking past that, being a senior, I know that next year I'm going to be off in college. So I'm really working on solidifying my partnerships with the agencies I discussed before, so that when I come back next year, I can actually see that the conference is still going strong. And then also just recruiting individuals that I can trust who I know will get the job done next year. So I'm just looking at solidifying partnerships.
And so for me, my event was originally made to be like Red Ribbon Week, so it's supposed to be an annual thing, and I'm gonna continue contacting the principal to make it an annual thing that we did in January, and I thought that was a very good time because students, that's a time when they start to get tired of school, and so it really helped them to just get energized. And I also plan on contacting other schools around Moore Park, and our public speaker is actually a counselor at Walnut Canyon, so I have already some connections with some of the middle schools and elementary schools. So next year I definitely plan on spreading it out to more schools.
My program at Sequoia Middle School is definitely going to continue, but I'm also looking to expand it past the CVUSD middle schools and use other high school girls as a resource to begin a program at their local middle school.
We have time for one final question.
Those of you who are seniors, did it really conflict, like where you guys are going to be going to college next year, or is like, did you guys choose to stay closer to home because of your programs and everything, or did you guys say, oh, it's okay that I can go to like the other side of the country and I can still do this?
Well, I know for mine, I kind of spoke to this. I'm moving out of state for college, and I'm definitely bringing Alex's Lemonade Stand and Alex's Million Miles with me because it's such a portable organization. You can do it anywhere, and I'm really excited to really bring it to my campus. And I've already talked with some other girls who are going to Utah State as well and are going to be in my class, and we're already starting to think about doing things on campus.
And I think, I'm not sure who else is a senior on here, but again, yeah, I'm looking to find people who I can trust to carry on the project. I understand that not everything can be done by myself. So I'm looking to stay in state, but I don't really know where I'm going to be in state. But regardless, the event I'm hoping will happen 2 or 3 times a year. So even on those dates, I'm completely willing to come back and help coordinate, but in terms of the planning process, I'll probably allocate that to a new group of volunteers.
All right, thank you guys. Am I on? Okay.